Hello and welcome to another tutorial on Photoshop. And this tutorial, I got a assignment submitted back to me from one of my students, in which he used my instructions and drew a bounce cycle. So it looks pretty okay, but this bounce cycle's arches and the floor of the bouncing sort of like is a bit off, but anyway, it's a good example to actually illustrate how bounces in real life or ball bounces take place. There are some errors and bugs that we have to fix up. So let's say I group all those shapes that he created, and then I open up layer comps. You can also go to the Windows menu and layer comps is there. If it is not opened up in your layer objects, then turn off all the layers. I also grouped all these layers together so that I can arrange them in a proper sequence, because the sequence is sort of like slightly off. So here I quickly reset the sequence, and then I started creating the first layer comp. So you can set shortcut keys for creating layer comps, or you can also create layer comps using the new button at the base of the layer comps subgroup sub menu item. And here you can see that I am slowly and gradually turning on and off different layer comps, and this is a very nice way to actually create animation. As you can see, if I scroll through these layer comps, you will see the ball is actually falling down, and here I'm going to create a bunch of other layer comps, like opening up new layers, turning off old layers one by one, and now I have 5 or 6 layer comps. So one very interesting thing is that when you're making frame by frame animation, it's really good to actually create layer comps. But since this is a simple ball bouncing animation, you can also use the animation timeline directly, and we'll go through that animation timeline slowly in a short while. But let me just show you, as soon as we turn on and off each layer comp, or bring in the click pointer, you can create them and you can see the animation. Moving on, let's just go to the next option, which is go to the Windows and open up animation. So a tiny little sub option box opens up. In CS6, Photoshop CS6, the animation subtool tab is available by the name of timeline. So this is Photoshop CS5. If you're using CS6 or above, the option is timeline, and over here you can see that I'm creating each frame and I'm turning on and off each layer one by one, and this illustrates the concept of animation one by one. So now I'm trying to tweak and set if I'm making any mistakes. It takes time to actually master this technique, because it's always best to actually align your layers on top of each other so that the next layer and the above stack is the one right next to it, so that when you actually start creating these layers, it's easier for you to remember where the next ball is, or how the balls are falling in a constant way. If you have the numberings all or the sequence all messed up, it's really going to be hard for you to actually make these frames one by one. So here I'm just figuring out the frames. Well, over here in this point This is, I think, the third and the fourth bones. I'm just trying to rearrange my layer tab, probably minimize it or move it upward so that I can have more control, because the animation tab is overflowing into the layer tab and overlapping over to the layer tab. So let's move the layer tab away so that we can create more frames. So here you go. I've also created a small shortcut for the new frame tab, so you can create customized shortcuts as well. I'll show you in some further tutorials how to create customized shortcut keys for Photoshop or any other. Nowadays you can create almost shortcut keys for any software. It depends on your ease of use, and it's always best to create shortcut keys because it really is hard clicking and wasting time. So here you can see that on the third and the second bounce the timing is slightly off because he created too many frames, and I'm just finishing up. I think this animation will go till about 51 or 52 frames. It's not necessary that it should go exactly to 51 52 frames. It depends on how you want the ball to fall, but I think in this animation we have 52 frames. Okay, so we have more than 52. I think it's 56 or 57 maybe, but let's try to figure it out. Okay, so last frames, we can reduce the time of each frame, or we can speed up the time using the time option at the bottom of each frame. There's this tiny little drop down arrow. So let's try to test and see if the animation is progressing. We press play, and since the speed is a bit fast and rendering is I did a screen capture, so the animation is not look on video that smooth. But I'll show you another video at the end of the animation where you can see the ball animation. Also, we did something interesting here, that in the second bounce I added a new layer so that I can discuss a very important part, the timing. So the timing here goes off slightly or goes bad. So I am writing from over here and just going to type, and rest of the timing looks fine. So let me show you where the actual timing goes bad, and yep, over here around frame number 22, frame 22 to frame 20. Here is where the actual timing goes bad. So at the end of the movie I'll show you guys the actual bounce cycle. Now you also must note that the resolution gate that my student actually selected is way off. So like it's not meaning it's not 1080p video resolution, it's wider than that. So the animation video that we rendered out, it's slightly skewed in the vertical side, just so that the video can be scaled in the horizontal and rendered. So the balls does not look circular in nature, it looks a bit oval or elliptical. But anyway, sometimes these bugs happen, and it's the first time that one of my students actually did this animation. So let's try to figure out how the animation looks like. I'm just trying to do some tests to see how well is the animation. Okay, so it looks okay. Now we can go to file menu, and go to export and render video. So a dialog box comes up. Let's do it again. Export, render video. So a dialog box comes up. It has the basic name of the file, location, where do you want to save the file. I'm going to save it in the desktop. Let's do this one more time slowly, and also make sure that you don't do this in 300 dpi. You have to do it in 72 dpi, so the resolution might be a bit off. So we can change this, and how you can pick the resolution is go to new file, film and video preset, and then select HDV, HDTV or DC HDTV. So the resolution comes to 1920 or 1080. That's 1080p. So now we can pick and choose the resolution from here, because we want to have 1920 to 80 pixels. A QuickTime movie export, we can go to the settings, we can set the name, we can select the folder. So I'm going to choose the desktop as the place where the video is going to get rendered. Maybe create a folder, call it renders, create a subfolder in the desktop main folder. Go to settings of QuickTime movie, and the settings look okay, and I'll just click render. So give it a few seconds and it's exporting the video. Let's go to the render folder on desktop. It's still coming. Give it a couple of seconds, and here it is. So this is a pretty big file, and see, the ball actually gets skewed in, but the bounce cycle looks alright. Oops, we missed something. The bounce cycle doesn't show the errors. So let me just pause the video here and fix the bug. Okay, so we'll try to make this image, this layer, turned on for like a couple of seconds so that we can show, and maybe pause on frame number 22, 21 for at least a minute or for at least a second or 5 seconds, so to show that where the bug actually begins or where the error is. So maybe for 5 seconds or 0.5 seconds, 1 minute. Let's try 2 seconds at frame number 21. Maybe we'll render this again. Render video settings, everything looks fine. Name it 01. Press enter. Just wait for a few seconds. Bounce cycle 01. Hit refresh a couple of times. And it's taking some time compared to the last time. Sometimes the videos render out slowly, sometimes the video renders out very quickly. So it depends on the video engine. And let's give it a few more minutes. Hit refresh a couple of times. Let's just pause it. So here we are. We hit play, and let's start the bounce cycle 01 bounce cycle. Here the ball stops and then it goes back. So this is the bounce cycle. I'll play this video at the end of this tutorial to just show you and illustrate what happens in the bounce cycle. Also, this video is actually probably 1.5 times faster than the average video. So without further ado, here's the video. And twice I'm going to show you the slow motion video where the bug is, and then after that you can see the full version video with the actual animation. And here is the final render. I know the bounces actually change, but it was a pretty nice attempt. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys with another tutorial. Take care. Bye bye. Allah Hafiz. Hafiz.